Right. Briefly discuss what we done last time. Our main focus last time was use of VI editor. Like you already learned Nano, which is again very similar. Another text editor, which is quite useful if you are continuously using system administrative tasks. So the last time we started our discussion with the VI editor basic commands, editing commands, and finally search and substitution. After finishing that, I also discuss a little bit on some other commands, including egrep. So let's start. So the first thing that we discussed last time is VI editor. You have two modes. Usually, when you open up a particular file from VI, it will start with the command mode, which accepts different commands to work with the file. But then if you want to insert, then you can use insert mode, which you will allow to enter, content for the file. So to start, when you start with the command mode. But then again, if you want to go to insertion mode, you can type either IOA, depending on where you are. It will insert content to the file. If you want to go back to the command mode, you can go to press escape. We will go to this one. Right. Okay. Then the basic commands that we have discussed last time, you can type VI a file name, which will open up in case if you're already existing, or it will create a file with a given name. If you want to save it, always remember you need to go back to the command mode and then you type colon and WQ, which means you save the changes and you quit from VI. If you want to quit without any saving, you can type Q and exclamation mark. So usually if you want to go with the keyboard, you can use HJKL for keyboard movement. Some editing commands that we have discussed, there are many other ways, but basic ones, copying a current line, which is represented using YY, which will yank, in other words. And if you want to include a name in front, it will indicate how many lines you are going to copy. For example, if you want to copy 2 lines from the cursor, we can type 2YY, which will copy the 2 lines. And whatever the copied or deleted ones, if you want to paste it, you can use P to just to paste. Similar to that, X to delete a character, DD to delete the current line, and U for making undo. Searching. Usually when you want to search something within the file, you can use slash to search in forward direction, or you can start with question mark if you want to search it backward direction. The direction you can repeat, that means you go to the next matching line by pressing N to the forward direction. If you press capital N, it will go to the opposite direction. Then finally, we also discuss how to substitute. For example, if you say S and slash, if you type already existing string and with a new version, GC will substitute anything in particular line with confirmation, C for confirmation. But if you want to do it for whole file, entire file, then you start with the %S. So these are some of the basics that we have discussed. Having said that, let's continue our discussion. Let me open up my Oracle box. Right now, let me share. Right now, we have Ubuntu server. Right now, I am going to log into my system with my username. Right. Right now, I'm in the command line. Usually, if you installed server version, we normally will not uh, get the desktop environment. Now, in case if I want to have a desktop environment, then I need to install it, because right now I don't have desktop is installed here. So now in case if you want to have it, the remote version, then you have to install it as a desktop environment, right? So that's about this. And then what we did last time is I was discussing some of the commands available in here, right? And the commands we discussed is first one, the grep command, or if you need like more advanced version of this, we use egrep. You can always check man page. You can say man grep, which is you can use grep, egrep, fgrep, rgrep, and so on. So simply we want to match lines in file. This is very important, especially when you work with different set of files. And then you have some what we call switches or pattern syntax. Minus E is extended regular expressions, which we can use. And then depending on whether you are using a file or not, that we can also use some switches. You can also ignore case, which is I, and so on. So the man pages, usually we call manual pages, very important for you to understand what is going on. Right. Get back to what we did last time. egrep is simply we can use search pattern, or you can use regular expression for advanced search, which is very important, especially when you work with the files. And then, for example, the simplest thing we discussed is last time we had a file name for sonnets, which we have typed. Sorry. And then, for example, if you want to search where uh, the text star is, we can simply type egrep star, and then you can have the file name, which will there you can see the particular string is highlighted and it will print only highlighted strings. But then if you want to make for example only the term star, then you can use W switch, which means we can search exact matches. For example, if you say egrep and if you say W, which stand for exact match of star, we can type like this, which now you can see only 3 lines. Let me clear this out and then type it again. Yes, exactly, it will output, 3, lines. Right. Now, let's say if you want to match, let's say, 2 different, names. So one way is we can say egrep, and let's say we are going to search exact words. So we can say W. Okay, now I'm going to type two words, star, and vertical bar to say O, which means we are going to look at both star and stars, right? Sonnets. Okay, so here we need to remove the space because otherwise it will actually consider space as well. Okay, right. egrep minus W switch for exact matches. And I'm actually looking for both star and stars under the file sonnets. So this is called sometimes disjunction. Right. Okay. Now, if you want to look in previous one, we look at both star and stars, right? Because there's only one character difference, right? So if you want to explain just one character difference, you can have a question mark, right? So for example, egrep W, instead of typing both stars and stars, star, and then maybe question mark, sonnets. Here we have stars. So let me put S here, right? So both the star and stars are matches. So we can see this will match either 0 or more. And that's how we get the same outcome. So the question mark in regular expression, usually we will use, um, 0 more. So that's what we have done it here as well. So Likewise, you can use parentheses, especially when you want to group characters, and you can use with the question mark. Now we have seen when you put a question mark, that can be replaced in the previous one. So the previous one, we had a question mark. So S might be it's switch with the star and the stars both, right? So similar to that, let me put in this way. Okay, maybe I'm going to say, okay, burn, and let's say burning, right? So in the bracket, I will put ing and question mark. So this should, you know, uh, this should match with both burn and burning. So that's what we want to do. Let me check. E grape W burn. Okay. So what was a mistake? There was a mistake. Right. So let me check in the file. That word is not there, right? So let me check movie. Yes, it will match. So the problem with the previous one is that word is not there, but simply we want to check both. So let me check sparkling. Okay, that is there. Okay. Anyway, the idea of brackets is to, search words. This is useful sometimes. For example, let's say you try to match some verbs with different word forms. So you can use both vertical bar and the question mark to make a match, right? So star we have already seen, stars we have seen, we have sings even. Okay, let me check. Right, so you can have multiple ones. We can do this. Okay, the last one. Let's say if you want to match end or a beginning, then use of W switch is not recommended. So one way to do this is you can use /B. So that means /B matches empty string, right? So for example, we can try. If you have a string ending with ing, let me put in this way. So let me say E grape. Let me clear out first. E grape ing. So if you have ing and then let's say, okay, so this is how it actually matches. Now let's say I want to say at the end, we'll say /P, right? So you can see the ing will match where it will not come in the middle. For example, earlier when I say ing, just ing as it is, you should notice that we have seen ing inside things as well. But what I need is it should be at the end. So that's why we have used /b here. Okay, similar to this, we can also find the beginning as well as the ending of the lines, right? So for example, we can use hat mark to identify what is starting from the beginning. So for example, let's say we have, okay, this is a file. So what are the starting values we have? Okay, we have a couple of lines. So let's think that, okay, we have not, and no. So let's say I want only this. So grep, let's say I need, okay, not, right? If you put it like this, okay, we start with that. And then let's say we need everything will be in the beginning, right? So if you want to say that, normally you have to use, hat mark like this, which always match if it is only the beginning. So in our case, it's anyway in the beginning. But let's say you want to have multiple values. So then you can use a bracket that is group. Let's say I need like two values, like not, and let's say and. So what this means, simply we will look at value starts with both not or and, right? So that's possible. And then if you want to match it for the whole word, so maybe you can, for the correctness, you can put it like this, because otherwise, if this particular word is in the middle, also matched. Similar to that, you can use $mark to indicate end, right? So we can select something at the end. Okay, so how do you do that? For example, let's say we will say stars, right? But let's say I want to, match with the stars at the end. Unfortunately, we don't have anything at the end. But let's say art. Let me put art. Okay, so we have only one. Not enough. Stars better, I guess. Okay, but you put a $mark. Unfortunately, we don't have any file start at the end. But with the comma, we can have, right? You can see. So the $mark always indicate the end character, right? And hat mark will be the starting character. Right. Now, let's say if you want to match a particular line, then we can use /w. For example, we can say grep. Let me clear out this. Grep. Let's say we have stars. Let me put W, right? And if you put it like this, okay, sorry, how to say sonnets. You can see that W slash W will match with exactly one letter. Let me put the third one. Let me put A. So I'm matching another one. So now S slash W is one letter and then A. So you can see it matches, multiple, lines, right? So in this way, you can always match depend on your requirement, what value you need to have here. So that always you can useful. Right. Instead of W, you can use different character sets, right? For example, we can say, okay, A to Z or simple A to Z. Let me check. What about this one? Something like, let's say, A, E, A, O, A, E, I, O, U. You can see this time when you put square brackets, now you are giving a group of words, the possible. So that means with S, you can have any possibility. The beauty of this is, if you want, let's say, all the characters, we can use in this form. You can have a dash like this, which will match, any character between A and Z. So based on your requirement, now you can, adjust different set of characters. Right. Now, let's say you want to avoid some characters, right? So that also you can specify. For example, now earlier we said A, E, I, O, U, right? A, E, I, O, U. So which matches S with one of these. But we can say except A, E, I, O. That is actually a hat mark. Yes. So you can see if there are any character A, E, I, O, U, you are going to neglect it, right? So this is sometimes called any character at all. Right. Now, next move to understand another task. Let's say now slash W we discussed earlier, which matches exactly right, one character. If you want to select one or more, right, you can use plus. So, for example, now let's say I will have something like this. I have this and I will say, okay, slash W plus, which matches start with S and any number of characters. So that's what it means. But the S could even start in the middle as well, remember. So that's how it actually, identifies. So if you want to have an exact word, then you have to phrase it in that way. Right. So what we discussed so far is use of characters and especially in searching, right? So let's say we want, select any character which start with A, E, I, O, U, right? So that means, let's say we have A, E, I, O, U together with some ing values. So in that particular case, we can type like this. We can say E grep. We said A, E, I, O, U. Yes. And if you just do that, um, okay, so it will look like this. If there are A, E, I, O, U's, it is highlighted, right? So let's say you have W, any character after that. So you can have two characters at a time with ing. So let's say ing, any number of characters in between. So you can have A, E, I, O, U, right? And then you will have ing. And then to make it a word not in the middle, right? So we can put it in that way. Right. So you can see that use of a group of words with the brackets. We can match any character that you want from the group. Okay. Now, if you want to match something exact number of times, then we can use capital E, right? For example, let me say E grep, capital E, exact number of times. Let's say A, E, I, O, U, A, E, I, O, U. So if you want to have this exactly 5 times, okay, you can put it like this, exactly 5 times, right? So that's, you know, if you remove E, right? So this means at any number of matches that you can have, right? The digit 5, and then we have this. So that is exact number of times. So let's try with some value which matches this. So how many times we have? Okay, maybe and let me try uh, having and A, we'll say D and N. Okay. And let's say we are going to matches exactly 3 times. Okay, you see, depend on number of characters we have. So it matches with and 3 times, right? Because we have 3 sets of characters, right? So that's what we got it here. So depend on your requirement, then you can decide. So let's put some not as well, NOT. Yes, now you can see. We have NOT because we are going to have a set of characters. Under the characters, we are going to match the set of characters, but exactly it's appeared 3 times. So you can see not and is selected according to the pattern we are going to give. right? So sometimes we will have some issues if you have both what you call capital and simple issues. Like for example, not here, we have both capital and simple. So if you just say not, what happens? If you just say not, what happens? Right? It will select only one, but not capital N, because we will select, it's case sensitive. But if you use switch I, now I is to ignore the different cases. So now it matches only the word not. So there are two instances with not. One is start with capital N, the other one start with simple N, right? So this is to ignore this. Now, for example, if you are finding some lines, let's say, let me say star. If you say star, it gives us how many times the star appears. If you need to count this, you can use -c, stand for count. So write down what this means, the last one, how many times a star appeared in the file. It's 12 times. So use man egrep for more examples. I hope now you got an understanding. egrep is very comprehensive tool where you can search anything inside your files, right? So make a note of this. Right. Now, let me explain one more command. So this command is known as TR, which means translates. So let me explain that. Now the TR is translating something from one to another. So if you say transit, if you say A to Z, A to simple Z. So what it simply means, simply you translate from capital to simple. Let me use cat. If you say cat sonnets, what it means, you represent as it is. Now, instead of this, we can make a filter. Filter means the output will be redirected to another one. This is what we call the redirection, right? So what we can use is, for example, we get this, and the output of this we will transform capital to simple. So this is how we are going to represent. So look at that, of translating capital into simple letters. And this is called redirection because output of the first one is redirected to the second one, right? Very important. Right. Now, similar to that, let's say if you want to separate all the words, So interestingly, sometimes we want to know like what are the words in a file, right? So tr could be used. For example, let me put it that way. So let me put tr. I'm going to say, okay, spaces convert into new line character. I will put 0, 1, 2. So what happens? Now you can see this will separate all the file into a set of words in the file. Right. Any questions up to this point? Let me explain a couple of more interesting ones, especially when you work with the text. For example, you can sort if you want. So for example, I can have another switch pipeline, and then I can say sort. See what will happen? All the words in the file, right? Or you can also count them. You can say unique ones, but let's say I want to have a count -c. It will tell us exactly how many times it's there, right? Unique ones are there. Right? Some of the useful file, but you can notice what I want to teach you here is we can redirect output always to another command. So we first look at what is inside the Sonnet's text, transform into capital to simple, and then transform into individually entities. So in this particular case, we take the space and then we use a new line character to move that. Then we sorted, and then we calculate using C, unique C, we calculate how many times the word appears in the file. Right. So sometimes this could also be used to find out how frequent the words in the file. Similar idea could be used. For example, we use sort, and then let's say I'm going to use sort again. This time I'm going to sort based on Rn, which means you can see how many times the word appears. And then let's say I'm going to find only the header part of this. Let me use head. You can see how many times the word appears in the file, right? So the maximum number of times the word appears. Very interesting piece of code, which gives you an idea of how to use pipelining in a scripting. Right. Any questions up to this point? Right. Let's move on to the next part then. So I hope now you are comfortable with redirecting input to another one. So what has happened here is we'll go one at a time. So you can see what is inside the file is using cat command, and then we transform capital to simple. So what we use is tr. We set A to Z. We set simple A to C. So, and this is what has happened, right? Then the third one is we will okay, so we like this. Then we will say tr space 0, 1, 2 will make a list of numbers. Sort right? So we can get it like this. So very useful one, where we talk about how we can manipulate text files, find information, and looking for exact word and term using regular expressions. Right. So the first one I'm going to use is I'm going to have sudo. I'm going to install Ubuntu desktop. In case if you have already done, you don't have to follow this step. So if you have already done this, we have to install Cockpit. So let me give you a command for that one. So those who have already installed desktop in your environment, and if you have the visual environment, take the terminal and find about cockpit, spelling COCKPIT. Simply, the use of cockpit is very simple. There's a website, you can have a look at it. Let me share the website. Website is called cockpitproject.org. So I will share this link in the chat. So this is known as a web interface for servers. Until my desktop is set up, let me switch to cockpit website. So as you can see here, you can use web interface. You can click these images just to show you like how it works. So simply you have to log in using your user account details, and then you can have a graphical web-like interface where you can server configurations, and all the log files you can notice from here. You can handle user accounts, you can set up the firewall. Everything can be done in the simple web in the interface environment, right? So how do you do this? Okay, that we will discuss, but definitely you can see cockpit also works with Ubuntu as well, which is positive sign. Right. If you need like instruction, you can go to install. All the information is given here, right? For example, since we are working with the Ubuntu, you can look at the instructions. Simply, you can use Ubuntu. Simply, you can say sudo apt install cockpit. That is enough. Just forget about this part, will you? If you say sudo apt install cockpit will be enough. And then you can start with the browser. Okay, now I have enabled my uh, window environment. So I'm going to log in into my account with the password. So as I told you earlier, we are going to look at the web interface. We can use it for, uh, you know, see the system and also handling servers in graphical manner. So for that, we are going to use Cockpit, and first initial task is we need to install it. So you can see here, I'm going to take terminal. So I got terminal here, right? And now what I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to install. So the command is, we can say sudo apt install. So what will happen once you install this, it automatically enable it. And with the browser now, what happens, you can connect to the web interface. Okay. Now that we have Cockpit is there, so I'm going to take the browser. I'm going to get a browser, let's say Firefox in my case. So under that, since now we have installed in our server, we can use default IP address to access the web interface. Right. Now we are going to type https / the local IP address 127.0.0.1 colon, then we can put 1990, which is the port for Cockpit. So you should see something like this. That means now you can see we are going to connect to Ubuntu 22.04, the server Ubuntu server 0. We have to log in with our user account. So let me use my accounts and then the password. Now that I have logged in, you can now see in a interface environment, right? So you can see right now user information is seen here, right? And then we have information about the system, CPU information, memory allocated. So everything is there, right? So this is sometimes called the dashboard. Usually how your server looks like, shows your CPU information, memory information, those information is already there. If you go down the next tabs, you can also understand what information you have. For example, if you go to logs, in the log section, you can see the system logs, right? And you can also look at what has happened to identify and monitor different services within the system. The next step is about the storage. So usually storage can be used to monitor the disk usage or managing user system, and also you can review disk performance, right? Simply this part, we can optimize the storage requirements. Right. Then networking, if you go to the next tab, this will provide of your network interfaces, traffic, and also like firewall settings. So that will be, you can access it from here. Then accounts, right now you can see there are 3 accounts and this is my account. So all the information is here. So simply actually you can use this interface to add, remove or modify users and groups. That part we'll do later on. Then you have services. So the services we have whatever the system services, you can start, stop and restart services. Then applications. So if you go to applications, it'll show you what extensions installed, right? Everything will be here. Here we don't have any virtual machines. If you have like virtual machines, what we did in our Ubuntu server, we installed virtual machine inside the Windows machine, isn't it? And that's what we are using it. Similar to that, you can create your own virtual machines. It can even you can use the cockpit environment to make create virtual machines. Then software updates, and then we have the terminal access. Right. So you can also have a look at your respective installation, how easy to access through a web interface like this. Right. So this is all what I want to discuss under the cockpit. It's simply a basic interface you to interact with the server information. Some basic basic understanding is enough. Right. Now we will come to the last part of my session. So for that, I will also going to switch back to the command line. So if you press Control Alt and F, you can switch into command lines. Right. So I am going to go back to the command line, which is what I'm comfortable and also the recommended for you. Right. Okay. Now, I hope you have seen from the cockpit, I already have like 2 accounts I have created. One is Sampath, the other one is instructor. So simply you can create new users. For example, I can say, okay, sudo add user. Let's say Saman. I'm creating a password, adding a user called Saman. Since I'm using sudo here, I have to provide my password. Right. Now I have to create a password. So you can see we create a username as Saman. We'll add it to the group Saman. And then it will create a home directory Saman and so on. And then we have to provide a password, right? For the time being, I'm just going to give a simple password, right? So let me put a password. It says it's bad password, but anyway, I'm going to continue with that. And then once you add a user like this, providing a username and a password, you can provide information about a particular person. So for example, you can provide username, full name, room number, work phone, other, right? And then you can just save it, which will generate a user. Right. Now that we have create a user, and then you can try to log in. For example, I'm going to get another the terminal, Control Alt F, let's say 6. Right. So I got a new line, and then let's put someone, and then the password I have provided. And you can see now I'm in Saman at Ubuntu Server 0. So now I'm in the Saman's account. Right? Okay. So if you want to delete user, okay, I'm going to log out, right? And I'm going back to my original place. Okay. So if you want to remove a user for once you after you create, you can say uh, you can delete the user. So for example, we are going to use Dell user. So I'm going to say, okay, sudo Dell user. I will say Sama. Okay. And then you can also remove the home directory because we have allocated. So they'll use remove home. So notice that I have used dash dash remove home, and then I will say Sama. So already said it's removed. Anyways. Okay. So that's about adding and deleting a user. Now, similar to that, let's say we are going to create a new group. So let's say we are going to create a new group. We are going to keep a group of users under this. Now, to do that, we can use sudo. We can say sudo. Let's say I will say add group. Right? And then this is, so you say lab group. Let's say I'm going to create. And now we have to include this to the group. So I'm going to create the user from the beginning. I'm going to add user command. I will put a password. And then I will say yes. Now that we have command, I'm going to add it to the lab group. So I will say we'll say add user command lab group. So now if you look at what has happened, we have user command we have put into the lab group, right? So similar to that, you can remove from the lab group as well, right? So now, for example, view the groups. So what you can do is you can select groups, then we can say lab group. So what I put is group summon. The command groups will show you where the summon belongs. So you can notice that summon belongs to lab group. Okay, simply this technique can be used to adding simply users, and it is always helpful for you to create sensible groups and also creating users. Right. With that said, I'm going to conclude my session for today. And three things that I mainly discuss in today's session. The Linux command continuation of grep, use of regular expressions. And the second one, we learn about the cockpit. And third one, creating users and groups. So I think we have now have the basics to talk about the next part, which is we are going to look at how we can share the files among the servers, and also securely how you may connect to another server. So that part we are going to discuss in the next session. I hope the next session will not happen in next week because we have vacations.